Hey guys, welcome back to Sky Talks Books. My name is Sky. Today I woke up, I looked at the calendar, and I realized Smart Hot Girl Summer is upon us, okay? So to mark this occasion, I am sharing with you my hot Smart Girl book recommendations. Some of them are books I've already read and I'm going to be rereading, but for the most part, they are all going to be new for me. This summer is not about beach bods. It's not about the tight abs. It's not about the big booty. It's not about the biceps. It's about the brain, okay? It's about the intellect. I want my brain to be so big that I cannot fit my head through a bikini. How do you wear a bikini? Okay, I think it's becoming evident that I've never worn a bikini in my life. I'm really more of a shorts and t-shirt kind of gal. Also, I can't swim. So maybe that should be the start of Hot Smart Girl Summer, learning to swim. So this video is going to be chopped up into several parts. We're going to have general non-fiction, philosophy, psychology, books of essays, poetries, and classics. Because I think it's important to be well-rounded, to be always expanding your brain. I think the goal is to, have a good time, firstly, but also to become somewhat of a modern day Renaissance woman. I'm prone to kind of lofty ideas. Part of my charm and my mental illness. Okay, so let's start with philosophy. First off, we've got 50 philosophy classics by Tom Butler Bowden. So this is just a good introduction to philosophy, and I'm hoping it'll kind of give me like a bird's eye view of all the different branches of philosophy and philosophers, and then I can kind of decide which ones I want to dive deeper into. You know, there's names on here that I have never heard of before and that I cannot pronounce, so that is good. Next, and this is a book that I have read many times. If you're only gonna read one philosophy book in your life, in my opinion, it should be this one, and that is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. So this is the very foundation of Stoicism and also sort of CBT, of cognitive behavioral therapy. A lot of it is based on Stoicism, but what I love about this is it's not often that you get to read the private self-improvement journal of the most powerful man alive at his time, you know, the Roman Empire and all that. What's this? Milk bottle cap, okay. So yeah, I mean, he never intended for this to be published. This was just for himself. So a lot of it is he's kind of talking to himself. There are admonishments, just life advice, things that he's learned that he wants to remember. You know, just about how to lead a better life. Even though it was written a very, very long time ago when AD 161, and the lessons and conclusions drawn are very old, it's never been more relevant, and it just keeps getting more relevant. Next, we have Plato, The Republic, a very fundamental, foundational, philosophical text. This is important to read because Western philosophy is all pretty much footnotes to Plato. The Republic is unquestionably central to Plato's thought, so you kind of have to, you know, it's kind of the place to start. And it's just a dialogue between Socrates, who was Plato's mentor, teacher, and his friends. So yeah, it is a dialogue. And yeah, it covers a lot of ground. Political theory, mythology, psychology, epistemology, all the ologies, you know. Next, and this is a book I do not have, but I rented it out from the library when I was 20, and it was like life-changing. And that is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. So this is it's a parable, it's an allegory, it's a little bit more on the mystical side. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't read this since I was 20, and so I don't know if it'll still hold up rereading it now as a 32-year-old. I have seen it being called like the live, laugh, love of like philosophy. I think that's pretty fair to say. It combines like magic and mysticism and wisdom into this very delightful, adventurous tale of self-discovery. Ultimately, this is a book about following your dreams, so yeah, I get the whole live, laugh, love element, but you sort of need some of that in your life. And yeah, I guess it's a bit more esoteric as well, you know, it does deal with learning to read omens that are kind of strewn across across your life and across your path, and I do believe in omens. And a lot of other people do as well, okay? Next we have a discourse on the method by Descartes, and it's written by the revered mathematician and philosopher René Descartes, and it's basically about reason and method of reasoning, something that I could very much do with. I'm not the most logical person in the world. So he attempts to explain his method of reasoning through even the most difficult of problems. He illustrates the development of this method through brief autobiographical sketches interspersed with philosophical arguments. So I think it's going to be a fascinating book, not just like from a philosophical standpoint, but also from like just a historical text, because Descartes was kind of, the time that he was writing, it was definitely during like a paradigm shift where one worldview was becoming replaced by another, and he sort of was in the middle. He had one foot in the old, one foot in the new. So I think that'll be pretty interesting. Next, we have a kind of a mouthful, a philosophical inquiry into the origin of our ideas of the sublime and beautiful. So basically, it's attempting to answer the question, what characteristics and attributes does something need to possess to be called beautiful? So it talks about the beautiful and then also the sublime, and basically what invokes emotions in viewers. So I think it's pretty interesting, not just from a philosophy point of view, but also art and aesthetics. Okay, next, let's move on to books of essays. So this is one that I actually just read the other day. It's called In the Margins, on the pleasure of reading and writing, and it is by the famous Italian author Elena Ferrante. She wrote My Brilliant Friend, that was probably her most famous, and this is 3 lectures and 1 essay about the pleasures of reading and writing. And honestly, it was amazing. It was very meta, I must say, and very dense, but a very rewarding read. Even if you're not a writer, I'm not a writer, and I still got a lot from it. Like I say, it is very dense, so even though it's a very short book, you might want to take your time with it. Next, it wouldn't be a hot, smart girl book recommendation list without Virginia Woolf. I've got a room of ones. I've been meaning to read this for the longest time. This isn't a book of essays, technically it's an extended essay. Yeah, it's basically about like how, as a woman, you need to have a room of your own. But, you know, I think it's a bit more than just literally. I think it's about taking up space in the literary world and also just in the world in general. It's a highly charged feminist text. It's like one of the essential feminist readings. Next, much like it would be hard to have a list like this without including Virginia Woolf, we also have to include Joan Didion. I have never read any Joan Didion. Every booktuber pretty much talks about her. Rory Gilmore from Gilmore Girls is a big fan. So I thought a good place to start would be Slouching Towards Bethlehem, which is Joan Didion's seminal essay collection detailing life in Northern California, most notably in the 1960s counterculture. So Didion was a prolific writer of stylish essays, and she was a journalist. She wrote novels, screenplays, and memoirs, and just overall absolute icon. Speaking of icons, also Susan Sontag. Her book of essays, Against Interpretation. I read Susan Sontag in college because I was studying photography, so it was kind of prescribed reading to read on photography. But I must say, as an 18-year-old who like barely got through secondary school, and you know, I wasn't expecting to have to read any sort of academic sort of essays or anything. It was a bit above me, I'm not gonna lie. And that kind of scared me off for what, like 12 years now? If you don't know, Susan Sontag, an American writer, filmmaker, philosopher, teacher, and yeah, she has a large range of essays on literature, art, culture, film. One of Harry Styles' favorite books is On Camp by Susan Sontag. So that is it for book of essays. Next we're gonna move on to psychology. We're gonna start with Freud. I love this cover. Alice in Wonderland. Look, is that Alice in Wonderland? And this is just a general introduction to psychoanalysts. Look, you want to be able to psychoanalyze people, okay? I think it's a pretty good skill to have. Me and my friends are always like psychoanalyzing each other, and honestly, it's one of our favorite hobbies. So I just want to like be better at it, you know? So yeah, obviously Freud's work is foundational. He deals a lot with first principles, which is kind of a term that has been popularized now by Elon Musk, but he did it before he was cool. Individual development, evolutionary theory, he just covers a lot of ground. So kind of essential reading if you're interested in psychology. Next, we're gonna talk about his buddy Jung, Carl Jung. I actually prefer Jung because he's a lot more esoteric and mystical, and that's kind of my jam. And also, as a result, more controversial. So yeah, he's also one of the founding fathers of analytical psychology. Jung's work explores the fundamental natures of our mind, but also what I really like about it is a large part of it is about exploring your dark side. You know, it's kind of the opposite to toxic positivity, where you're just like, yeah, I'm great, you know, I'm a good person, I love myself. It's about shadow work. I mean, he came up with the term shadow work, you know, shining a light on that shadow part of you and integrating your shadow self with your other self. So yeah, a good place to start would be Man and His Symbols, because it kind of takes pretty much all of his ideas and theories and, you know, is written for the layman, like laywoman, layperson like me. Lastly, in the psychology section, I want to talk about Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. This is a very short and impactful read from what I've heard. It's pretty much on everybody's list of books that will change your life. Viktor Frankl was a psychiatrist, and this is pretty much his memoir, and it deals a lot with his time in a Nazi death camp and how he kind of found meaning in it and how he didn't let it overcome him. His whole ethos is that you can't avoid suffering, but you can find meaning in it. Life isn't about like avoiding pain and going towards pleasure, it's about purpose. He came up with logotherapy, which is a therapy just about that, about finding your meaning and your purpose. And that resonates a lot with me, because I think it doesn't matter what you do with your life, you know, whether you become a lawyer or a scientist or a stripper. Yeah. You know, whether you want to be a lawyer or a psychiatrist, or you want to have an alpaca farm, or you want to be an artist, like, it doesn't matter as long as you're fulfilling your purpose. Next, let's talk about general fiction. These are kind of gonna be a little bit weird, but they're just like what's on my general fiction TBR this summer. And the first one is Goddesses in Every Woman. It does kind of draw inspiration from Jungian psychology, like that there's archetypes that come from myths and mythology, but this is more just focused on women. It basically explores 7 different archetypal goddesses as a way of describing different personality traits and behavioral patterns. So it deals with Greek mythology, feminism, psychology, and yeah, I just want to discover my inner goddess. What is more hot girl summer than that? Next, this is a bit of a mouthful, The Chemistry of Alchemy, From Dragon's Blood to Donkey Dung, How Chemistry Was Forged. And this is basically about how chemistry came out of alchemy. And it also has like practical experiments to try. So yeah, I guess I'll be going on Amazon and getting some Dragon's Blood and Donkey Dung. Lastly, we have The Girl Who Drew Butterflies, How Maria Merianne's Art Changed Science. This is about Maria Merianne, who was a 17th century naturalist, and she was also the first person to observe the lives of insects directly. I love insects. I'm always sending my friends pictures of like worms and spiders and anything, really. They didn't ask me to. They haven't asked me to stop either, so. She was also one of the first to document the metamorphosis of a butterfly. So yeah, this book is like filled with illustrations. So yeah, I would kind of like to get a physical copy of it. Next, let's talk about classics. So there's really only 2 classics that I definitely want to get to this summer, and one of them is Wuthering Heights. I know most of you probably read this already, and I'm very late to the party. But yeah, I want to read Wuthering Heights, and I want to read East of Eden by John Steinbeck, which is like 600 pages. So I think if I get to those 2 classics, I'll be pretty happy. Okay, last but not least, let's talk about poetry. There's basically just 3 poets that I want to read this summer, all female. First is Emily Dickinson. Oh, love this, love this. I feel a close affinity to Dickinson. Firstly, I've been really enjoying Dickinson, the show. If you know, you know. She had pretty bad health anxiety and hypochondria and sort of an obsession with death. I don't have an obsession with death, but I have pretty bad health anxiety and hypochondria. But like in her time, she didn't have Google. So, which was probably a blessing and a curse. And Sappho, Stung with Love, Poems and Fragments. Sappho is one of the most versatile and exquisite poets in classic literature. Invoking female deities, Sappho summons the muses for inspiration and beseeches Aphrodite's allegiance in a battle of the heart, while episodes from the Trojan War are told from a woman's perspective, as Helen makes her this is the longest sentence in history. And lastly, I don't have a physical copy, Sylvia Plath. I'm actually reading The Bell Jar right now, but I've read Ariel. I do find Sylvia Plath's poetry very difficult. I do understand it. No, sorry, I don't understand it. I do enjoy it, but I don't understand it. Like, not all of it. Even though we did her for the Leaving Cert. I don't know how. Like, yeah, and we had, like, the teacher guiding us through it, like, when we were writing in the margins what every single line meant. So, I kind of miss that. That would be handy. But yeah, I think poetry is one of these things that, like, you can enjoy even if you don't understand a lot of it. And, you know, you can always look up a summary and, you know, analysis online after you've read the poems. Oh, and also, I also want to get to Macbeth. This is the only Shakespeare I have. I've tried a few times, but I shall succeed. So that's it, guys. That's what's on my summer TBR, basically the books that I absolutely want to get to, or that are mostly nonfiction. Is this us starting a book club? Should we read them together? So yeah, I'll do an update video at the end of the summer, talking about which books I actually got to, and how I enjoyed them. So I guess I'll see you then, in 3 months.